Hi everyone, my name is Kiondra, the founder of Precious Stones. I wanted to invite you all to hear my testimony. So I was born in Chicago, and growing up, like my parents, they had a pretty toxic relationship. It was a lot of fighting, a lot of arguing. And so at age 7, my parents actually split up, and my mom sent me and my sister to Alabama to live with our grandparents. And it was supposed to initially be a temporary move until she got things situated for us to come back. But later on, as the year went on, she decided to move to Alabama, and I was just like, oh no. I was like, I don't want to stay here, and so it was just really hard for me to accept, because I had always had that expectation in the back of my mind that we would be going back to Chicago. And it was just hard being in a new school, trying to make friends. And so I just found myself really moving to this more shy and reserved phase, and just really staying to myself. And my grandmother, she was great. She really told us about Christ, took us to church. So I had always grown up in church, but I really was just hanging on to the coattails of her faith. And because I didn't really have those personal conversations with him, it was just more like the prayers were very scripted, just praying the typical dinner time prayers or bedtime prayers, but nothing further outside of a church environment. And so as I got into more like middle school age, I just found myself actually drifting more away from Christ and more further away from those standards that our grandmother had taught us. And I just started being more concerned about what other people thought about me, and also just seeking attention from boys that I wasn't getting from my father. And so that's when I really just started to notice that I just didn't have the faith, wasn't truly grounded in it. And so in high school is when I actually started there was like a Wednesday night thing at our church that we were going to at the time, and they would have youth group ministry. And it was during those years, I would say like the middle, my high school age years, is where I found myself really like just developing a hunger, more of a thirst for Christ, and started seeking him outside of church even. And but when I was 15, in my sophomore year of high school, I met this guy, and we started dating, and it was a lot of compromising in that relationship. And I was just really deceived, and thinking that, as long as I wasn't, having sex, it was okay. But as I got towards my senior year, I just really felt the Lord telling me that, no, this is not what I have for you, and you need to end that. And I did. I made a decision to end that relationship, and I just had a peace about it. I knew that it was the right thing to do. And so started college right after high school, went to a local community college, and then at age 19, I got accepted into this program. And so during that time, I actually moved away because the school was 4 hours north from me. And it was a great learning experience, and I just living on my own, and really is where I found in myself beginning to grow even stronger in the Lord, because I was on my own. And so it was just a great experience. And But unfortunately, this guy that I was in a relationship with, I once again found myself slipping into a pattern of compromising. And so he wasn't like the most accepting of my faith at that time. And honestly, that should have been a red flag for me initially, but it wasn't. I was just blinded by the fact that I really cared about this person, and we had been friends for a while, and even before we had started dating. And so I think I just felt like I could change him, that hopefully one day that he would just see the passion that I had for the Lord, and it would just kind of rub off on him. And unfortunately, it kind of really didn't at first. I honestly just found myself slipping further and further into more. The more that I compromised, it seemed the further away that I felt from Christ. And it just really put me in this place. I was just hurting, because I was straddling the fence. And I had really given God everything, except I just could not surrender this area of relationships over to Him. And so at 24, I finally reached a breaking point. I was just like, okay, because I had become more involved in church and everything. I was serving, I was seeking the Lord quite fervently, very passionately. And so I just couldn't, it was just really breaking my heart with all of this straddling. And to the point, I was crying myself to sleep, at times, because I also was not talking to anybody about what I was dealing with. I was keeping it all inside. And so the only people that knew, was the guy I was with at the time and God. And so just was bottling a lot of these things inside. And I was afraid of what people would think, and because I was straddling the fence, I just found myself slipping into this periods of just shame and guilt and regret. And I just felt so unworthy to God. But I just knew at 24, I was just like, okay, I'm done with this. And so at age 25, I was engaged, and during that time is where I found myself, unfortunately, backsliding. Once again, I had slipped back into compromising, and it took me some time to realize, but I really felt like the Lord was like, the Lord had me fall on my face because I had gotten to this place where I had developed this pride, and I just felt like since I had gone so long without compromising that I was invincible to this type of sin. And so I was just, a lot of the compromising honestly would not have happened had I made wiser decisions, but I was making poor decisions because I felt like I was strong enough to handle it, instead of trusting in God and allowing Him to guide my decisions. I was making the decisions for myself. And that's where I found myself right back on my face again. And once again, the shame, the guilt came in, and I just felt so unworthy. But I just knew that something was going to have to change, because I couldn't keep going back and forth and into the same old patterns. And so we were engaged for 8 months, and after much praying and reading, I made the difficult decision to end that engagement. And honestly, it was the hardest decision, or at least one of the hardest decisions that I've had to make so far in my life. But through this, God has been so faithful, and I just have a peace like I've never felt before. And I just, and those thoughts of shame and regret have been washed away by His love. And just so grateful that I did take the step to step out in faith and walk away from that, because I really felt like it was either God was like, hey, it's either this relationship or me. Which one is it going to be? Because I was just so broken, but God is like piecing me back together each and every day, and He is everything to me. He's my Father, He's my best friend, and He's my husband, and I still don't know what the future holds, but what I do know is that the love of Christ is enough for me now. And I had to get to that place where I was able to surrender every part of me, and not just the pieces that I wanted to surrender to Him, because honestly, I wasn't trusting that He was enough. And I'm just so content now, and I can clearly see that He is enough for me. And so, yeah, I hope that you all found this testimony helpful, and feel free to drop any comments of any questions that you may have, and also maybe any ideas of any upcoming videos for any upcoming topics that you may want me to speak about in the future. And also, don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel, The Precious Stones. And I really do hope you all found this testimony helpful. And I mean it. There is so much peace and contentment in Christ. And I don't know where any of you may be, but if you may have a relationship with Him, and you might have been like I was, just still afraid to surrender that certain area of your life over to Him, because you don't know if He's going to be enough, or if you can go without this thing or this person. And I'm here to tell you today that it's possible, and just to let it go. When you let it go, you are able to receive everything that Christ has for you. But as long as you're like this, with your hands closed, or like this, hanging on to whatever that person or thing is, then you're not going to be able to accept everything that God has for you, because He has so much more for you. And I hope that you believe that and you receive that today. God bless you. Bye.